All right, so looking at the first one,
How is that sauce?
copy of this here. You know how I always throw like a thank you for attending question on there? Okay, that's the first one. If this is a 0, what's another 0? Well, let me make up an example. Remember how if you had like square root of 3, you would also have negative square root of 3? Like there was the plus and the minus. So literally, if that's one of the zeros, the other one, all you're going to do is take this plus and change it to a minus. That's it. So it would be negative 4. Oh, whoops. Negative 4 minus 7i. I'm sorry. All right, I don't want anyone to miss this one. Have you guys all got that? Like just change it, whatever there's there, just change it to the opposite, okay? 2 and 3 are really similar and 4 and 5 are really similar. So I'm just gonna choose one or the other. Do you wanna do question 2 or question 3? It does not make a difference to me. 3, all right, let's do question 3. Since it is an equation, you're gonna need your scratch paper for this. It's not gonna fit on here. Since it's an equation, what do we need to put out front? Yeah, f of x equals. And if your 0 is negative 2, what will the factor be? X plus 2, because negative 2 plus 2 gives you 0. And then for 5i, you will have x minus 5i. Oh, but also x plus 5i. That goes back to question 1. They come in conjugate pairs. You get the plus and the minus. Essentially, like that's it. Now you just have the tedious job of multiplying it all together. It's not hard. You just have to, do it. All right. So we're going to leave the x plus 2 alone, multiply these two together. You can only do 2 at a time. So what's that going to give us? X squared. Now the outsides are plus 5ix. The insides are minus 5ix. So those are gone. They cancel. And the last, you would get negative 25i squared. But I squared is negative 1. So it's plus 25. And a lot of you on your quiz just like did that in your head, which is totally cool. I always like write it off to the side. And then we're just going to multiply those together. So that would be x to the third plus 2x squared. And this is just distributing here. And then plus 25x plus 50. And yeah, I skipped question 2. The answers, like this whole thing filled out, is on Schoology. The expectation is because you don't have homework tonight except to get ready for the test. Go back and do the ones we skipped. That's why I skipped them. So you can do them and then check your answers. Question 2 is the exact same process, just different numbers in it. Mm-hmm. All right, out of 4 and 5, 4 and 5 are really similar. So which one of those do you want to do? 5. All right, let's do question 5. So f of x equals, because it's an equation. Now, if your 0 is 2, your factor would be x minus 2. And it says with a multiplicity of 5, so that's 2 to the 5th. Now, you're not going to do x minus 2 times x minus 2 times, et cetera, et cetera. How do we handle this one? Yeah, your little triangle. Does anyone remember the coefficients just because we've done them so many times? 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. Perfect. All right, so f of x equals. You can write out the triangle if you want. It's going to be 1, 5, 10, 10, 5. Oh, I did not leave enough room. Let me try again. I didn't space it out very nicely. I want to make it a little bit better. 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. That's a little bit better. All right, and then you're going to start with x to the 5th, and that one's going to descend. So x to the 5th, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, so on and so forth. And then you can either, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either put a negative 2 in there, or what I kind of suggest instead, and it's up to you, is make it a positive 2, and then at the end, just make your terms alternate. So I'm just going to use 2. This would be 2 to the 0. This one's going to go up. 2 to the 1st, 2 to the 2nd, 2 to the 3rd, etc. And then because it was subtraction, you can just make them alternate. Now the first term is always going to be positive. So like this first one's positive, and then it would be negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. And then we're just gonna simplify that. So anything that's to the 0 power, you can just like scribble out. And so your first term is just x to the 5th minus, all right, now look, you have to do the exponent first, then multiply. Just watch, I'm gonna point to it. You ready? 2 to the 1st is 2 times 5, 10. Good, so 10x to the 4th. Plus 2 squared, 4 times 10, 40. I think this might be like almost the exact same as the one that was on your quiz. Yeah. Like, do you get that you're going to see the same things over and over again? Because I'm only going to give you 1s, 2s, and 3s. I'm not going to make the numbers any bigger because you don't get a calculator. So you're going to see the same things over and over again. All right, minus 2 cubed, 8 times 10, 80 x squared. 2 to the 4th would be 16 times 5 is 80, and then just x. And then minus 2 to the 5th. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32. And that is your answer. All right, now for these graphs, I'm going to be very transparent with you and tell you exactly what is on the test. All right, no excuses for not knowing what's on there. All right, so for these graphs, for 2 of them, I'm going to ask you the whole list. All right, and those are the ones that are like 9 and 10. All the characteristics. You're going to do everything for those 2. The whole list, just like your quiz. All the others, I'm just going to pick and choose certain characteristics. I'm not going to make you do the whole list and you don't have to draw a graph. Okay, I'm just going to choose like certain parts of it. And I'm going to tell you exactly which ones. The one that is really similar to number 6. Do you get what I'm saying by really similar? Like a sister problem. Like it's the exact same thing with a different number in it. Do you get what I'm saying there? Okay. So for the one that's like number 6, you're going to do the vertical asymptote, the horizontal or slant asymptote, the whole, and the end behaviors. Nothing else. You don't have to draw a graph. You don't have to do any of the other stuff. I'm just picking and choosing certain things. For the one that's really similar to number 7, you're going to do the x-intercept, the y-intercept, and the vertical asymptote. And that's it. Nothing else. For the one like number 8, the one that's similar to number 8, you're going to do the domain, the vertical asymptote, the horizontal or slant asymptote, and the end behaviors. And that's it. And then for the one that's really similar to number 11, you're going to do the domain, x-intercept, y-intercept, and the whole. I'm literally telling you exactly what is on there. Now we'll do 2 of these. Again, all the answers are on Schoology. I'm assuming you probably want me to do the 2 where you have to do the whole everything, but I'm going to throw the question out there. Do you want me to maybe do one of those and then we can go from there and you can pick a different one? Or okay, we'll start with number 9 then. So we'll start with number 9 and then we'll do that whole thing and then we'll see where we end up. So the first thing you would want to do is factor this. How is the numerator going to split? Yeah, you said the whole everything. X and X, it'll be 3 and 2. To get a negative 1x in the middle, you would want negative 3, positive 2. Oh, you guys are also so smart. Oh, does anything cancel? No, it's like really close, but it doesn't. All right. So do the domain first. Who is your troublemaker that's getting kicked out? Boot them out. They're not invited to the party. 2. Why 2? Yeah, it'll make the denominator. You can't have a 0 denominator. 2 is causing problem. Now, how do you write that you want everybody except 2? Good. Yeah, and parentheses. That's crucial because a bracket would show that you want it. We want to leave it out. So you want everything to the left of 2, everything to the right of 2, but not 2. Now, I can never remember what order the whole list goes in. After domain, I would do the whole and the vertical asymptote because that's what your troublemaker can become. What is 2 going to become? Good. It can't be the whole because nothing cancels. You have to write something on that line though. So put none or nope or a frowny face. I don't care. Write something silly, but you have to put something on that line. It'll make this 0 and you can't divide by 0. Now I get that without a grid, it's not going to look like real great, but you know, do your best. We're going to put a vertical asymptote at 2. Obviously on the test, I will have a grid printed on the paper for you. And then you want to do the not vertical. We already did vertical. The horizontal or slant asymptote. This one's tough because you have to compare the powers. Look at this one's 2. This is to the second. This is to the first. So it's slant asymptote. And do you remember how we figure that out? So your synthetic division, 2 goes in the little box. It's always a really short, everyone always groans about that, but it's a really short synthetic division. And you guys are good at synthetic division. It's like an easy thing. Like that's what you guys nailed on the last test. 1, -1, -6. And you don't even have to finish the problem because we don't use the remainder. So bring down the 1. What's your next number you're going to put? 2 and then, wait, this will be 1, right? Yeah, and then this will be 2, but it really doesn't matter because we don't use that. All right, so it'll be y equals 1x plus 1. Kind of weird because they both came out to be 1s, but it's whatever you get. Y equals 1x plus 1. Now, when you go to dot that in, it's y equals mx plus b. We're actually doing this in Algebra 1 right now, so I know that you saw it, but it was a few years ago, so I'll give you that. You're going to start by going up 1. That's right here. And then your slope is also 1. So up 1, right 1, and just dot it in. And again, I get that on here, you don't have a grid, so it's not going to be real perfect. Just, you know, do your best. Mine's a little wobbly, but whatever. Good enough. I always do the intercepts next. I think it'd be nice if we had a point to plot. How do you get an x-intercept? Equal it to 0. Now, if you set this whole thing equal to 0, the first thing you would do is multiply over the x minus 2, but that's just going to give you 0. 0 times anything is 0. So you have this equals 0. You're going to have 2 of them. What's the first one? 3. So we get 3, 0. And -2, 0. So you have 2 of them. When you set that equal to 0, you ended up with, you have 2 factors. So you get 2 answers. So 3, 0 would be right here. -2, 0 would be right here. Y-intercept, how do you get that? Plug in 0. Good, you guys remember stuff. Fantastic. Now you can use the factored version, plug in 0 to all those x's. Sometimes I think it's easier to go back to the original one because you can just cover them up. If they're all 0, you're left with -6 over -2, which would be 3. So 0, 3. And then at that point, you can connect it all. So just go through the points that we plotted and then like coast along the asymptotes, like those little dotted lines. So it looks like a weird X or something. I don't know. It's cute. It's a cute little graph. It's all good. It just is what it is. And then you can go back and pick up the characteristics that we skipped. One of them was range. So what's the range for this? Scanning downwards to upwards. Yeah, we didn't lose anything, right? Like, do you guys get that there? Like, it's actually, yeah, there's no hole. There's no horizontal asymptote. Exactly. Increasing and decreasing. There is no decreasing. Put none or a frowny face or nope or whatever you want to put. Since it's increasing all the time, what do you copy over for that? Domain. Copy the domain. It's left to right. Just copy it over. Will you ever copy the range? No, it's left to right. And then the last thing is the end. So we're going to look left, look right. So limit x goes to negative infinity, limit x goes to positive infinity. I get that there's arrows everywhere. I get it, okay? Cover up the middle of the graph. Take your hand and cover it up. Where's the left arrow going? Down, right arrow, up. So negative infinity, positive infinity. All right, we'll do one more and then we'll do a break. Do you want me to, so we did 9. Do you want me to do 10 since that's everything, or do you want to pick one of these other ones? I will do whatever you feel you need most. Again, all the answers are on Schoology, so it's all up there. We want to do, okay, I figured that's what you would say, but I'm just like giving you the option. I'm going to pause the recording. I want you guys to go ahead and factor that. I'm going to get you started though. For that numerator, you would need to take out the 3 first and then split it. Bless you. So like if you take out a 3, you're left with x squared plus 3x minus 4, and then you can split that. So that 3 is kind of just like there, and then you split that one. Okay, so this is going to split 4 and 1. And again, to get a positive 3, you would want plus 4 minus 1. All right, so in the denominator, how would you split up 3? Like what multiplies to be 3? 3 and 1, good. And then they'll both be negative to get the negative 4. Oh my gosh, something's going to cancel. That means we're going to end up with what? There will be a hole, all right? But do the domain first. You have 2 troublemakers that need to get kicked out. There's 2 of them. Who's getting booted out of the domain? 3 and 1. Now, because you have to go left to right, which one are we going to like skip over first? 1. Skip over 1, then skip over 3. If you put them the other way around, it would only take off half a point, but just try not to do that. Smaller numbers before bigger numbers. So one of them can become the whole. The other one's going to be the vertical asymptote. So which one becomes the whole, 3 or 1? 1 is going to be the whole because that cancels. The other one's the vertical asymptote. So that's how you can end up with both things. If you have 2 troublemakers, one of them is going to be one thing, one of them is going to be the other. Now I wrote the whole 1 comma something because it's going to be a point. How do you get the other something? Plug it in. Here we go. Ready? 1 plus 4. 5 times 3. All right, so numerator is 15. And then down here, 1 minus 3, negative 2. That does not reduce. So just leave it. But when I go to put that on my grid, and again, just do your best. On the test, I'm going to have a grid printed for you. What would negative 15 halves be? It would be negative 7.5. So at 1 and then negative 7.5, you're going to put a hole. And then at 3 is the vertical asymptote. And you guys did awesome on the quiz. Just do it again on the test. No one, not one single person, this might be the first year this has ever happened. No one left the hole floating out in space. You all connected it. Very good. I didn't have to tease anybody about that. All right, then do the horizontal or slant asymptote. Actually, let me not write both of them. Let's figure out which one we have. You have to go back and compare the powers. This one is squared. This one is squared. So what does that mean? It's horizontal. Good. And we're going to use the coefficients, which would be y equals 3. It's 3 over 1, which would just be 3. So it's going to level off at 3. You can dot it in the whole way across. I tend to only do those ones at the edges. In case something weird happens in the middle. It won't, but I just always put them just at the edges. Then it would be great if we had some points to plot. You get that we put a lot of stuff on this grid, but it's all invisible, right? Like none of that's actually there. Okay, so we need some points to plot. So x-intercept. We're going to set this whole thing equal to 0. So I'm going to just talk you through a lot of this, save you the writing. If you set this equal to 0, you would multiply over the x minus 3. It would still equal, this is the great thing about 0, it just absorbs everything. Now you've got the numerator. You would divide by 3. 0 divided by 3 is 0. So really all you've got is x plus 4 equals 0. It would be -4. Good. And then for the y-intercept, you plug in 0. It does not matter if you use the factored version or the original version. I do sometimes go back to the original one for that, though, because you can just cover up all the x's. Because if there's 0, they're gone, right? So see how I covered them all up? You're left with -12 over 3, which would be -4. So sometimes I think it's easier to use like the original one. Please remember, though, the original one and the factored version it's the same equation, just one's simplified. Do you get what I'm saying? Doesn't really matter. All right, and then you can connect all this stuff. So just go through the points that you plotted. Please connect to the whole. And it's gonna look like a little hourglass sort of shape. And then once you have it drawn, you can go back and pick up all the other stuff. Let's do the range. You're going downwards to upwards. There's going to be 2 numbers getting booted out of the range. Just look, I'll point to it. What's the first one? Like scanning. What's the first number I get to we have to leave out? Yeah, that -7.5. I like the fraction. If you write -7.5, I'll still mark it correct. I'll just like grumble about it a little bit. I like the fraction better, all right? So we're going to skip over -15/2. Because it's missing. It's a whole. And then what other number do we have to leave out? 3. Never going to touch 3. All right, increasing, decreasing. Which one do we not have? Yeah, there is no increasing. It's decreasing all of the time, so copy over the domain. Just whatever your domain says, copy that over. And then what's the last thing? Thank you. Yeah, the ends. And again, I realize there's arrows everywhere, all right? Cover up the middle of the graph. Where are both the arrows headed on the ends? 3, will they ever touch 3? No, it's behavior. And what's the other answer that tells you this is gonna be 3? Yeah, it's gonna match where you're leveling off. So those answers are gonna all be the same. All right, so on the back, 12 and 14 are very, very similar. We're gonna do number 12. 13, I'm gonna leave for you because I think that's an easier question. Let me just verbally talk about this. Do you see how it's a single fraction equals a single fraction? In that case, you can just cross multiply. Do you remember that? So you would just cross multiply this one. Again, there's one like it in the activity you're about to do, so you'll get to practice that and all the answers are on Schoology. I'm gonna do this one because it's the harder problem, all right? First thing you would wanna do is factor this. And how is that gonna split? Thank you. Yep, -4 plus 3. Oh my goodness gracious, that is the same thing that is right here. It's crazy, right? So that is your common denominator, x minus 4, x plus 3. Now, you can dig in your heels and fight against me on this if you want to. It's technically up to you, but I'm going to keep saying you should write that 3 times. X minus 4, x plus 3. X minus 4, x plus 3. X minus 4, x plus 3. In the time you would spend complaining about it, you could have just done it. If you don't write that, you won't visualize what is canceling and what's still there. It's tedious, but not difficult. Go team, pep talk. Was that enough of a pep talk? You can do it. I believe in you. So what cancels for the first term there? X plus 3. And then look, you can see what's still there because you wrote it. X times x minus 4. Now you have to distribute, so that'll give you x squared minus 4x. Good. What cancels in the second item here? X minus 4. Now look, you're not distributing a 2, but a negative 2. Negative signs are hard, okay? You're distributing a negative 2 into these parentheses. So that will be minus 2x minus 6. Good. If you lose the negative, you'll get down to something at the end that won't factor. It just won't work. And you'll be like, oh, I dropped a negative somewhere. Okay, go back and find it. Equals, and then what cancels in the last one? Yeah, all of it. And so you just have negative 14. Phew. Okay, all the fractions are gone. Welcome back to Algebra 2 class. What are you going to do next? Yeah, common term. Good. Like terms. Put them together. Negative 4x and negative 2x. Negative 6x. Literally everything else stays the same. Math is like that. I say that a lot to my Algebra 1 kids because they're scared of writing. You know, it's like sometimes you just have to write stuff down. A lot of math is just recopying what you had. You just got to do that. All right, then what? Evacuate. Get everybody to one side. We're going to add over the 14 so that it'll be 0. So what is that? Plus 8? Sometimes I feel like I can do all this really higher level math and then like I can't add. You know what I mean? All right, that's why we have fingers to count on. All right, and then this is going to split x and x. 8 is going to split. Yeah, good. And they're both negative. I always do the numbers first and then the symbols last. So it's like one thing at a time. And then what will your two potential answers here be?
4.
Yep, 4 and 2. Check them. If either of them are a troublemaker, you have to kick them out. Do we get to keep them both, get rid of them both, keep one, get rid of the other? What do you think? Which one are we getting rid of? Yeah, this one. X minus 4 was in the original problem. If you plug in 4, 4 minus 4 will give you 0. That's a troublemaker. Now, is the answer no solution? No. That's the common mistake I get there is people will cross, the whole thing's beautiful and they cross this out and then write no solution. And then I have to take off minus a half point because there is an answer. It's 2. Let's just do the first step for 13, just so I can get you started. You would cross multiply these. This way it would give you negative 6x. And then this way you have to do FOIL. You have to multiply those together. It's first outside, inside, last. When you multiply these x times x, x squared, you would have your outsides are 3x, your insides are 4x. So 3x plus 4x be 7x. 3 times 4 is 12, and then you would evacuate. I'm going to leave it there. You guys can finish that. Again, all the answers are on Schoology. I'm just getting you started. Let's do the word problem because I know that's a scary thing. All right. It says the sum. Hey guys, what does sum mean? Addition. You're going to add. Here's what I suggest you do. And again, I'm not going to give you bad advice. The tests are a lot easier for me to grade when all the answers are right. Sum means adding. Something plus something equals something else. Literally just set it up blank. It will calm you down because you'll be like, hey, I got started. All right, the sum of, how do you write 3 times a number? 3x, good. Twice the reciprocal of the number. All right, that's going to be 2 times something. How do you write the reciprocal of x? We got 1 extra, right? 1 over x. Like the reciprocal of 5 would be 1/5. The reciprocal of 9 would be 1/9. The reciprocal of the number is 1x, right? Is, so equals 5. And then you just solve it. What are you going to multiply all of these by? X. Why x? Why are we going to multiply them all by x? That's the only denominator. It's the only thing that's in a denominator. So that's going to give us 3x squared, good, plus.
What's that?
Oh, I just set it up blank, like something plus something equals something else. It's not a part of the problem at all. It's just a blank. You don't have to do that. I set it up like this. And then I kind of like filled in the blanks. All right, and then plus just 2 equals 5x. Then what? We got rid of the fraction. That's good. Evacuate. Minus over the 5x, you want to put it in the middle. And then we're going to factor. Now that's a more difficult factoring problem because you have that 3 in there. If we guess wrong, we will try again. You just got to have a little bit of perseverance, all right? How does 3 split? Yeah, 3 and 1, so 3x, 1x. Now the 3s and the 2s with the 5s and the 6s, this is always kind of hard, and we're gonna have to check our symbols. How would we split 2? It would have to be 2 and 1. Now it does matter where you put them. Where do you want the 2? In the first one or the second one? First. Okay, let's see what we got. What are the outsides giving us? 3 and 2 will make 5. They both need to be negative. Now, did the symbols work? A negative times a negative is a positive. If you do it the other way around, the number will technically work out, but your symbols won't be right. So you have to check the symbols. And then what are our answers? You have to set those equal to 0. 2/3, good, and 1. Oh, do we have to get rid of either of them? No, our troublemaker was 0, and we didn't get 0, so we're good. Now these last two, and I'm going to do one or the other. These are your number lines. For this one, you would factor the numerator, you would factor the denominator, and then you would make a number line for each one of those, pluses and minuses. Okay? I'm going to do 17 because this is the more difficult problem. Please listen, because every year the question that's like this is the most commonly missed one on the test. You have to start by making 0 on one side. I'm going to say that again. You have to start by having 0 on one side. So we're going to subtract this entire thing to the other side. So it's going to be 2 over x plus 3 minus 4 over x minus 1 less than or equal to 0. Start by getting 0 on one side. Now you have to put the fractions together. That means you need a common denominator. Okay. A lot of people will like cross multiply these. And you know what, if you end up with the right answer, I'll mark it right, but that's mathematically not what's happening. This one is getting multiplied by the x minus 1. This one is getting multiplied by the x plus 3. That is like mathematically what is happening there. Oh, that did show up darker. It's supposed to be purple. But well, at least it looks different. All right, distribute the 2 for me. What have we got? 2x minus 2. Perfect. This is not a 4, but a negative 4. If you distribute a negative 4 into there, negative 4x minus 12. And then this is the other common mistake in this problem. People wipe out the entire denominator. It's still there. What is it? X minus 1 and x plus 3. Don't get rid of it. Now we can make our number lines, all right? You're going to have 1 for the x minus 1, 1 for the x plus 3, and then 1 for the numerator. You would want to put the like terms together. So if you put your like terms together, what's that going to give you here? Negative 2x, good. Oh, hey, that's weird. That's weird. There's a negative. Do you get what I'm saying? That's weird. All right, negative 2x minus 14. Now, these are number lines. You have to go smallest to biggest. So think about it. If you set each of those equal to 0, which one's going to give you the smallest? Yeah, that one would be negative 7, right? Now, you can pick test numbers if you want. What is it usually? If nothing weird happened, how did we fill it in? negative to positive. Since we have this negative here, it's going to switch that and it'll be positive to negative. But you can always pick a test number. Let me show you. Can you give me a number this side of -7? -8. If you plug in -8, just humor me first. Humor me. I'm going to show you how it works. -2 times -8. 16 minus 14 is 2, but the point is it's positive. If you pick a number over here to plug in, you will get a negative result. So you can always pick a test number. All right, which one of these is next? Yeah, good. This one's going to give you -3. Did anything weird happen? No. So it will be negative and then turn positive. And then what's the last one going to give you? 1. And it will be negative, turn positive. You don't know, write that down. You got it already? You're ahead of me? All right. And then you're going to slice this up with these little like balloon strings. And so what's your overall sign for the first section? Good. Why positive? Because that's correct. Yeah, negatives cancel. Then you got a positive. 3 negatives, be negative, and this is going to alternate. And then you have to be able to write the answer. So it comes back to that symbol, less than or equal to 0. Less than means we want which sections? Yeah, the minus, the negative ones. And if you want to color it in, you can. You don't have to, but I feel like sometimes that helps. Now the equal to means brackets, but you can't bracket a 1 or a -3. Why not? Yeah, like it can't equal those, right? So you want to put a bracket, but you can't on the 1 and the -3. Okay. So can I put a bracket on the -7 though? Yeah, that can get brackets. So bracket -7 to -3 parenthesis union. That's this section right here. And then what is the other like shaded section going to give us? Yeah, 1 to infinity. And you have to parenthesize the 1 because 1 is one of your troublemakers.